All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Just 1 second, check this feed. All right, we good. Okay, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, before we get started with this lesson, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that sat here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
Shalom.
All right. So it's the brothers of Great Millstone Charlotte coming back with another Lord willing edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And pretty much we wanted to go into just another news and prophecy. All right. Because if you're looking at what's going on, all right, geopolitically, all right, Trump is pretty much, being used to destroy Babylon the Great, man. All right. Everything that we're seeing him do as far as economically, dealing with the stages of war, all point to the destruction of Babylon. Because when you go into the prophecies that Yahweh Shem Shah has set for Babylon the Great, and we're seeing these things all play out. Okay. So the first thing we wanted to address with this is just showing how Yahweh Shem Shah set Trump up, all right, through the elites to pretty much be the catalyst to bring in this destruction, because it's very well looking like this nigga's about to be the guy, man. All right. So we'll play this video real quick, unless y'all have something else.
Con, if I could grab something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's a few priests. This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1.
That's the spirit. I was just thinking that too.
Proverbs 21 and 1, it says, "The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will."
Right. It said the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. So the Lord is the one, putting the thoughts into these elites' mind to pretty much orchestrate what we're seeing going on in the earth, because we know the Amalekites are the ones behind everything that we're seeing. Okay. Trump, just as well as all these people that we see, in these positions of power, are set up by the elites, all right, to formulate the plan of the world stage the elites are setting to bring in this new world order. So what we're going to go into just real quick, as far as, dealing with Trump, the elites put this man in this position for a reason, okay? And what we're starting to see is that Trump is showing who his alliance is with, man. Okay, he has tricked you people into thinking that he was coming into office to pretty much bring America back to its glory. But what it really is that he's about to pretty much destroy America's infrastructure to bring forth this MOTB infrastructure, and then eventually go in what the elites want him to do, which is to help aid them in overtaking Iran, all right, and pretty much finish out clearing out that whole Gaza Strip, so the Amalekites can pretty much occupy that land.
Con, if I may land back on that point, as you may, this collapse of the system is transitory, right? That's why you had Trump talk about how we're entering into a period of transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
The collapse of this order, this existing global order, the existing markets, right, to lead and segue into the MOTB, right, being the way how people buy and sell the centralized bank, the central bank digital currency, the CBDCs, right? That has to come about through a controlled demolition, which we're seeing take place right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this place is going to implode from within. All right.
Donald Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago, according to White House official. There it is. That's his blog. He said, President Donald Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago and joined Chabad Lubavitch Synagogue in New York City, according to a high-level White House official. Mr. Goldberg says the story has allegedly been held by CNN's editors for months, but is due to be released within the next few days. David Elias Goldberg, a fellow at the Jewish Center of Anti-Semitic Study, has also interviewed the White House source. According to the source, Trump was pushed by his daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner to join the faith. At first,
I want to point out a quick point, because what you're seeing Trump doing with, him, touching and, bowing to this wall, we all know that all the presidents, have to come over here and do this, when they arrive in Israel. So the fact that, Trump, they're saying that he converted to Judaism just shows how far he has went to show his allegiance to the small hats, man. Okay. Because when you go into this wall, just, for brothers that don't know the history behind this wall goes back to the Herodians. This wall, pretty much is Edomite, relic that they continue to uphold. So like I said, every president that comes over here, they have to pay homage to this wall. All right, they have to bow their head on it, and all that, kiss it and all that stuff.
First, Trump resisted, stating it would threaten his base of evangelical Christian voters. However, he had a change of heart and officially converted in early 2017. The ceremony was held in private and closely guarded for nearly 2 years. It appears the White House is prepared to slowly release this information, and by summer, it is expected Trump will fully address his new faith in an evening televised news conference. He is clearly the most pro-Israel president in the history of America. He's given Israel every single thing that they wanted, and he's about to give them war with Iran. And so, has he converted? So, I want to show you one more article. This is, let me see if I can.
This is Times of Israel.
Yeah, the Times of Israel. This was published March 22nd, 2019. This is the Times of Israel. Trump, the first Jewish president of the United States.
Now, that's not us saying that. That's Times of Israel. Times of what nation? Israel.
So the people in Israel, that's an English-speaking newspaper in Israel, and that's what they read, that Donald Trump is the first Jewish president of the United States.
And how did they qualify that, Rick?
They gave a list of things that he did for Israel.
First of all, of course, moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
That's right.
That was a big deal.
Then recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. He's the first sitting U.S. president to visit the Western Wall. They gave him credit for defeating ISIS. They gave him credit for rebuking the United Nations when the UN criticized Israel. They credited him with closing the Palestinian office in Washington, D.C. And they said these things, what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these 6 things qualify Donald Trump to be named the first Jewish president of the United States.
And that's what the Times of Israel said.
Yeah, that was not David Duke's newsletter. It's a Jewish-owned newspaper. And they're proclaiming Donald Trump to be the first Jewish president of the United States. So now when you look at this David Elias Goldberg saying that a White House insider told him that President Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago.
Well, it doesn't sound so crazy.
That's not too crazy. And then CNN knows about it, and CNN is sitting on the story and will be releasing it at some point.
It was history's darkest hour. Millions of innocent, wonderful, and beautiful lives, men, women, and children, were extinguished as part of a systematic attempt to eliminate the Jewish people. It was the most savage crime against God and his children.
We were so deeply moved to see that picture of you touching the stones of the wall. And may I say, we were deeply moved to see First Lady Melania Trump touching the stone of that wall. And equally moved when we saw Your daughter Ivanka and your son-in-law Jared do the same.
Okay, so let's just, what if it's true? What if it's true? What does that say to you, Doc?
That says to me there's been such a major shift in values in America. It's no longer Judeo-Christian values anymore. It's Judeo values now.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and then real quick, could you grab Luke 8 and 17? Because what we're seeing with that is just it's making sense to what the reason why he has Elon Musk in his cabinet, and the move that he's making now is all in the best interest of Israel, because Trump is a pawn that the Lord has put in place to do the elite bidding, which we know all the presidents are, but Trump is a special case, man.
Exactly.
Yep. Can you call that once more, priest?
Luke 8 and 17.
Okay. This is Luke chapter 8 and verse 17. It reads, Luke 8 and 17, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Right. So it was through the Spirit that the Elder Ashiar, came across that video, because at some point these things are going to be brought out that Trump is fully, aligned with the elites, man. All right, with the land of Israel, the small hats. Okay, so this is why, like I said, it is no surprise to where Elon Musk, because when you look at Elon Musk as before, he was actually a so-called Democrat. He wasn't even in the same political party with Donald Trump. He was actually against him. When you look at, when him and Biden was running, he was talking shit about Trump. So now all of a sudden with this, current presidency, now you see him pretty much change up, and now he's like the spokesperson for Trump, man, because we are witnessing a small hat take over as they're trying to bring in this new world order, because according to Revelation 12 and 12, it says that they know they have but a short time, man. Okay, so they're trying to, bring this thing in. Okay, remember he put in that Operation Warp Speed and all that too. So it was another video I was looking for. I wanted to bring into this just to add to what we just saw there, because that shooting that happened, when he got quote unquote shot in the ear, that wasn't by happenstance, man. That was a ritual that took place so that Trump can fully, show his submission unto the small hats. And that video broke down how, pretty much that him being, shot in the ear, that was essentially like them putting the oil in his ear for him to show forth that the small hats are his master, So everything that we've been seeing him do since then has been all what they want. They want him to crash this economy. This is why we see these tariffs going out like they're going out. They want him to talk this shit against Iran and threaten Iran with war, because it's all in the best interest of Israel, man. Okay? If y'all both got anything, y'all got it.
Kind of real quick. It's an article off of Cambridge.org, and it details the history of the AIPAC and the Israel lobby. And just an excerpt out of it reads, the emerging message was clear to Jews and others alike. American Jewish leadership would find a way to support Israel no matter the situation. So this is the whole thing we're seeing being set up, right? You may mention the Trump, right, and him converting over to Judaism, right, and the ritual they set forth, right, for him to affirm or reaffirm his allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
All these things are them, cowtailing, right, to these people over in Israel, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But this article, real quick, just to add to that, out of Natural News, it says Trump and Netanyahu push ethnic cleansing of Gaza in White House meeting, doubling down on genocidal policies. Right, so they're pretty much right. We know they're in cahoots, right?
Yeah.
So we know that they're working in lockstep now, and they're not hiding it like you brought out in that Luke, man. Right, all these things are being made manifest and brought to the light, right? And that's them boasting themselves, man.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, bro, everything is starting to make sense on why he's moving like how he's moving, because the American people were bamboozled into thinking that Trump really had their best interests at heart. And then the moment he got in the office, you saw that heel turn, and you saw like, yo, he's been like, fuck the American people. He's all for what these small hats are wanting. Okay,
Yeah.
because here it is. All right, he's talking about bombing Iran. There's nothing beneficial for America for him to do that. That's Israel and their wants, man. Just as we see with these tariffs that he's doing, because what these tariffs are really doing is isolating America from the rest of their allies. So the main one that's going to feel the brunt of that is the American people more than the people overseas who he's doing this on.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I have something right quick, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right now, as we understand, as brothers have been discussing that left-right paradigm, this has always been the intent of the beast, right? To pretty much bottleneck the people under their submission, right? To allow the people to enter into the NWO, right? It doesn't matter if it was somebody from the Republic or the Democratic Party, right? It's
Right.
two horns of the same beast, right? And it says he had two horns like a lamb, right? With the Democratic and Republican Party, right? But it said, and he spake as a dragon, right? The draconian measures that he's preparing to institute, right? At the end of the day, that's what the intent of the leaders is to enforce on the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with this individual Trump, we're seeing the things that he's carrying out, and we're seeing that his intent, the powers that be that are, controlling him, are pushing in that direction to bring people closer into the NWO.
Right.
All right.
And like you said, they're pushing that controlled demolition. Because they have to control the chaos as it unfolds, right?
Right.
They want to see this thing slowly collapse, right, within their control, right? So
Right.
that way they can implement things, on their own pace, man.
Yep. Esau has that God complex,
Mhm.
Yeah.
He wants to be in that mindset to where he's all knowing, all controlling, But it's a feat that he's going to lose in.
Exactly.
In fact, I'm gonna get that for you since you said that. This is the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. It said, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition."
Right. And when we speak about the falling away, speaking of 70 AD, right? And the son of perdition, right? When you go into that word perdition, it also means destruction, right? That's speaking of Esau Edom, right? He is that man of sin, right? He is that bloodline going all the way back to Cain, right? The serpent in the garden, right? Whose ultimate intent was to be pretty much anti-Hamashiach, right? The forerunner, right? And we're seeing that everything that he's been about is being revealed to show that he is anti-Hamashiach, anti-life.
Mm-hmm. As we're seeing, because here it is, this nigga is the president of the United States, and he's destroying the very country that he's supposed to be, so-called governing. He
Yep.
doesn't care about the people, and that's all Esau does, man. Esau will destroy his own people to pretty much, and the earth to get the minions that he wants. Okay.
Yep.
It says, verse 4, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sit up in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God."
Right. So Esau Edom, right? The man of sin has a God complex, right? The idea of having total superiority over all of creation. That's his mindset, right? And the
Mhm.
feats in which he's trying to go about achieving that, right, is not even kind of, it's really crazy, right? As brothers
Mhm.
talk about this devil is really a madman, a mad scientist, and everything that he's trying to do is leading toward the MOTB, right? He wants to put that digital all inside of you. And we're going to keep telling our people, look, this is like as the brother had quoted here, On Psalm 64:6, they search out iniquities, they encompass a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. The intent of this devil is not a light matter when he says, I'm going to chip the world.
Yeah.
He's dead serious about that. And
Yeah.
you got these camps that try to refute that because they believe that the mark of the beast is otherwise. When clearly, when you go into the breakdown and you assess the times that we're living in, this is the direction in which we're going to buying and selling, man.
Exactly.
Right? But it all ties into his God complex.
It's 9:16 p.m.
Salakia.
No, you're good. But yeah, no, it just adds to what you're saying, because if you are really paying attention to everything that's going on as far as the direction that they're going with this AI, how they're pretty much, trying to, implement the biometrics and everything, it's all centered around merging man with machine and then making AI the governing force over that. So like you said, that chip is the ultimate goal throughout everything that we're seeing. This is why the talk of AI and the technocracy, which is the beast system, he's bringing that in, man.
Right.
Biden began it, but Trump is the main one that's forwarding it now, man. So we're reading here. All right, the heart of Esau is deep, it's unsearchable, man, because the depths that this man has went through, going, deep into that left-hand knowledge, it has perverted this nigga's mind to where he literally thinks he's God, man. This is what the whole thing is. He wants to put a chip in everybody to make himself God on the earth, to where he has complete reign and control over everything. There's nothing secret, all right, about anything anymore, man.
Right. If I may, I want to make a quick point, because, you have a lot of people in the circumcision that are of the opinion that that is not the mark of the beast, right? Because they feel as though that's too far out. Do you not understand that there is sentient AI?
Right.
But you believe that it's not feasible to believe that this technology won't be mandated, right? When they said that the computer came out, people were like, "Oh, I'm not going to get with that." You got to get with it now. Smartphones. Yep. Oh, I'm not going to get with that. You're with it now. This is the next frontier in the progression of humans in this order, this existing age, man.
Yeah, that out with the old, in with the new. That's always been Esau's philosophy. And what he does is he'll gradually influence you through his media, which is his witchcraft, to make you accept it. Because you could be against it, but it's good. He has the system set up to where you can only resist it so long before you have no choice but to accept it. And that's eventually how this chip is going to get, because as we see, the way that he's gone with this technology, like, it's going to get to a point to where we're not going to have phones no more. We're not going to have physical money no more. It's going to be all, tailored to the system. And we're already seeing bits and pieces of these things being put in, these different, companies, already putting in the hand scanners, and all that. And then when you listen to these elites talk, not to rant, but they've been talking about how they've been trying to hack humans forever. So now you're seeing all these different, technological advancements to where they're putting brain chips in people. All right, they're giving automated limbs to people. All right, and they're telling you this in their shows. Like, it's no coincidence that in the middle of all this, for brothers that's hip to that show Black Mirror, they pop out with a new season in the midst of all this transition that we're seeing taking place, man. And when you watch that show Black Mirror, it's very subliminal of how they want to do. Now, it's an episode that I haven't got to watch it, but I've seen clips to where Esau has these, alter, or it's like reality altering devices, which we're already beginning to see with the AI, the virtual reality glasses and all that. These are things who condition you to want to be a part of this system, because like Atazwan said earlier, these things are all getting you ready for the new way of life, man. And so if you want to continue to use smartphones, to be able to use your smart technology, whether it's the stuff in your house, your TVs, your fridge, to get in your house, when you go to work, all these things are going to require you having a chip inside of you at one point.
Right.
So for you guys out here still talking shit, talking about that's not the MOTB, this shows truly the Spirit of the Lord is not dealing with you, man.
Exactly. That's what's Ezekiel 12, right? You know, and like the brother said, these things are happening faster and faster. That's why when the quantum computing chips and things of that nature came out, they shut it down because it was moving too fast, right? They were getting way ahead of schedule, right, to the point that they couldn't control. So now we're about to start seeing them roll these things out, and like you said, they implement it in such a way that people get conditioned to it. People become slaves to the convenience that it offers, right?
Yep.
And then you can't get out of that ecosystem, right? So
Yep.
now you've become immersed in that lifestyle, man.
Hey, real quick, grab Daniel 12 where it talks about knowledge shall increase. Because Tazawam brought up the AI, man. The alarming rate of how this AI is growing is to a point to where Esau has said at some point they're going to lose control. All right, and as the videos are coming out, you mentioned the quantum computing chip. All right, Google, and I forgot the other company. All right, they already have came out and expressed how the AI has become so advanced now that it's actually made up their own language. I was listening to the El Yashawama go into it. I forgot the name of the language. It's like gibber speak or some shit like that. But just showing you that this is Babylon because it's gibberish. It's the play off gibberish. Because when you listen to the video, the guy has an AI talking to another AI, and they start out speaking English, and it's like, do you want to switch to whatever the language is called to better have the conversation? And they just automatically switch, and you can't understand what they're saying. So we're here. Y'all got it.
So what?
I got it.
Okay.
It's Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. It says, and at that, you want me straight to the point or at verse 4?
Yeah, let's go straight to the point.
Come. Daniel chapter 12 verse 4 says, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
Right, and knowledge is being increased because this technology, which is really, Esau, dabbling with these left hand or right hand. He's dealing with spirits at the end of the day, okay?
Right.
Because like Apostle Har went into, all right, this AI is literally spirits, okay, and they could be left hand spirits or they could be right hand, spirits, depending on how they're being utilized, okay? Because brothers, dabble with the Chat GPT and the different AIs or whatnot, but we we use it in a realm to where it's not, we're not abusing it,
Right.
because that shit is witchcraft, man. But we at the same time we know that's just the modern day Urim and Thummim, okay? But Esau is putting this stuff out here to get you used to AI, so you're not going to buck up against it when these things go to that next level, man. As we're gonna go into the article, and I can read it for you while you break it down, bro.
Okay.
All right, so this is from Time.com. It says Trump wants tariffs to bring back U.S. jobs. They might speed up AI automation instead.
Right. So as we see what's going on with the tariffs that are being imposed primarily on China, right, a mass exporter for the United States, they're pretty much trying to rally the people and say, well, we're going to bring back the jobs to America. Now, mind you, this AI automation, we already see that the discussion that's being had amongst leaders of America is that, or not even just America, but just globalists, is that AI is going to pretty much take over the jobs of the majority of people, right? It's not just going to be something that's going to impact somebody that's working within a warehouse, but this is going to integrate itself into every facet of life. So when it talks about AI being sped up, it's not just so much impacting your ability for labor, it's going to impact you across the board. Yep. As we went into that lesson a while ago. I want to say maybe it had to be sometime last year. But when we went into the lesson, it was talking about AI, how it was pretty much going to take away all the jobs and going into the mark. This is where we're at, right? Yep. Because with this AI integration, like brothers are saying, you're going to become so in sync to an ecosystem that you're going to either have to get along with it and tie yourself into that digital all, or you're just going to be ostracized and you're just going to become inadequate.
Right.
Who
And
wants to
on top
who wants to be with somebody that don't know how to use a computer?
Right.
God. God.
Salaki, Kwanwa, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna add to your point, you're right, in that, the way this AI is gonna take people's jobs is gonna open up that universal basic income, right? And
Yep.
people's access to
Yep.
that universal basic income is gonna be directly attached, to that MOTB, man.
God.
You could jump down
Says-
to the third paragraph. Oh, you was
Go
right
ahead.
there. You was right there above.
Right here.
Yep.
All right. So it says, but rather than enticing companies to create new jobs in the U.S., economists say the new tariffs bolstered by recent advancements in artificial intelligence and robotics could increase incentives for companies to automate human labor entirely.
That's exactly what's going to happen. This idea of, oh well, we're gonna try and boost the jobs in America. Not for people.
Right. Exactly.
Jobs ain't gonna be boosted for you. It's gonna be boosted for AI. AI is so deeply woven into society at this point in day that these jobs, these tasks can be handled by AI. It's collected enough data on the people to be able to grow to the point of sentient.
Yep.
That's it.
Keep it going. There's no reason whatsoever to believe that this is going to bring back a lot of jobs, says Carl Bennett Frey, an economist and professor at AI and work at Oxford University. Costs are higher in the United States. That means there's an even stronger economic incentive to find ways of automating even more tasks. In other words, when labor costs are low, like they are in Vietnam, it's usually not worth it for companies to invest in the expensive upfront cost of automating human labor. But if companies are forced to move their labor to more expensive countries like the U.S., that cost benefit calculation changes drastically.
Right. So when I was watching this video, and essentially this lady, she was breaking it down how the goal of these tariffs is to pretty much destabilize the global order of the markets and then tie in incentivizing companies to do business in America, but it's not going to be pressed with labor because one of the biggest costs of business is labor. So by incorporating AI, is going to cause people to lose their jobs. It's going to introduce UBI. It's going to introduce people's need to be tied more into this existing system of AI integration into their workplace so that they can be invaluable and not have to go about their lives to not have a purpose, because that's a lot of people's purpose is their business, their
Right.
work, they don't see past this society. This is what they know. So when these things get instituted, people are going to jump on the bandwagon of AI, AGI, and ultimately going into the chip.
God. Says to be sure, experts note that the tariffs may not immediately lead to more automation. Automating manufacturing jobs often require companies to make significant investments in physical machinery, which tariffs are likely to make more expensive. In a time of economic turmoil, companies also usually hold off on making big capital expenditures. Thus, in the short run, Nobel Prize-winning economist Darren Acemoglu predicts that there is likely to be so much disruption that few companies will invest in automations or much else. But if tariffs persist in the medium term, Acemoglu tells Tom he expects companies will have no choice but to bring some of their supply chains back home, but they will do it via AI and robots. Man, this shit
Right.
get crazy.
And it's gonna hit every aspect. It's not just gonna be a matter of manufacturing, right? Because the recession isn't just subjecting only a group or a set of industry, right? It's gonna impact all industries, right? All industries are going to work to see about how they can integrate AI,
God.
And like
might
it
as well
said,
go ahead and grab.
so
Go ahead, Doc. Fuck it.
I was just gonna say, like it said, and like you may mention, them destabilizing these things to a point where, right, like they said, they don't think the companies are gonna want to pay, right, the exorbitant costs, pretty much the startup costs, right. So that's where the incentivizing comes in. That's where the tax breaks and things of that nature come in, right. Where the Trump might put a statute in where you get 75% off, whatever equipment implementation that you need in order to get that AI, infrastructure established, man. Right. And that's part of why everything is going down the way it is, because it makes it hard for everybody to afford these things. The China being the second largest global market, you know, now you're seeing what rare earth metals, right, are going to be, hard to come by. So all
Mm-hmm.
these things, the access to these things is going to be less and less. And it's gonna incentivize people to, pretty much follow in line, right, in whatever the government tells them to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna grab this Isaiah 19 real quick since we in this already. So this is Isaiah 19:1, and whoever can break it down. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it."
Yep. And that's what the Lord is doing. The Lord is coming to tear down the idols of America, Babylon the Great. Right. And one of those idols, of the people is money.
Yep.
These people have set up money as an idol, and we're seeing that idol is being removed from these people, man. They don't have the access to it. They don't have the strength, that they once had utilizing that, right? So now it's disrupting their safety. It's disrupting their comfort, right, and their assurance in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Because dealing with that money, as we know, like you said, that's an idol because Esau has pretty much, put a witchcraft on that money, that paper money, man. When you look at the dollar bill, it has the cobwebs and different stuff. The symbols on it would let you know that that's a talisman. And these people, they look at that money as their saving grace to be able to, like you said, have a purpose in life, and pretty much to feel, like they belong here, man. All right. So this is why, like you said earlier, the majority of people, their whole existence here is predicated upon them having their own business. That's why you're seeing, as really since the bid, all right, it was a uptick of mainly Jake, especially, but people in general becoming, their own entrepreneur. Everybody wanting to be, their own business manager and all that stuff because they see that they cracked the code pretty much of figuring out how to become rich here, especially Jake. So like we always make mention, do you really think that Esau, if he cared still about this country and the money and all that he would let Jake, boom with this money like what we're seeing, all these podcasts, different things Jake is doing to show forth that is how easy it is to be a millionaire now. Let's show you this money is worthless when Jake is able to pimp that shit now, man. But I want to get a quick precept. This is Proverbs 23:5. It says, "Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings; they fly away as an eagle toward heaven." And this is what the Most High is doing with this money, because like you said, this money is equated to an idol as well. And as Jake is seeing, no matter how much money they have, as Trump is continuing to fuck this country up through the economy and everything, this money is really is worthless because you got Jake working 40, 50, 60 on up hours, working 2-3 jobs, and they still can't survive because of what Trump is doing as far as what these tariffs are going to pretty much bring, all types of inflation. All right, he's making it harder for people that do have their own businesses, because what these tariffs have done is the materials that a lot of people are getting in from these foreign countries. These tariffs are making it more expensive for them to have the products shipped over here, so they're having to pivot and find new places to buy from, which is hurting, and really a lot of their companies is being destroyed off of this shit, man.
Exactly.
So you put your trust in money instead of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. This is why a lot of Jake is feeling that shit right now, man.
Yep.
Hey, when you get that word moved in the Strong's H 5128, it says to quiver, to totter, to shake, to reel, to stagger. Right, just going into the instability, man.
Yep.
Right, all these idols are proven to be unstable, and the money, right, that you're speaking on, right, we're watching that instability take place. Right, so
Mm-hmm.
where it says their hearts shall melt, right, people are losing their confidence and their faith, right, in the American dollar and the economic system as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and since you said that, just looking at it from the other side of it too, dealing with the other idols that these people worship through their, false religions or whatnot, they're seeing that shit is not helping them either. Hey, all these people praying to Jesus and these other gods, how are they helping them, survive all this, man? So, hey, the brothers and sisters that believe in Yahweh Shem Shai, hey, we sitting good right about now, man, because everything that our power has told us, he prepared us for this shit. So we just got to hold tight, man. We're not being moved like the rest of these people are, man. But continuing on, back in Isaiah 19:2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom.
Hey, and like we're seeing right now, right, the division is at an all-time high in all facets of life, man. Right.
Yep.
And one thing you notice is that lack of resources intensifies, right, all these things. So now we're about to see more, seditions take place, man. You're gonna see more people, protesting in various shapes and forms, man. Right. We're about to see more people coming up in arms against their neighbors, right, because they don't have that hedge of protection to fall back on. They don't have that nest egg. They don't have, right, that comfort that they once could run back to.
That's a good precept. The brother got the car, Kasal 444, Ezekiel 28:4. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, that has gotten thee riches, that has gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, thou hast increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Yeah, and that's going to all these, businesses and all that the American people has been able to pretty much, survive off of. What we're seeing, the first thing Trump, when he got in office, what he was doing, and he's gutting them jobs, man. Especially to the people that's in these high government paying jobs. Hey, they getting cut left and right, man. All right, hey, unemployment is on the rise in a great state. But like I said, when you look at how America became great, it was through all these businesses, man. So like now we're seeing these businesses are being affected by these tariffs, and it's only going to get worse from there. So the same way that America got rich is now being, as a snare to them, because now they can't sustain themselves, man. This is why you're seeing businesses laying off people more because they can't afford the labor. Because a part of what we're talking about dealing with them having to pretty much be forced into going to the AI route, you're seeing a lot of people with these degrees. A lot of them are now overqualified. So it's better for them to go the AI route because that's less money they have to pay out for these people. Because a lot of people, what they're finding hard about trying to find jobs now is that the amount of pay that they're expecting, they're not finding because these companies don't want to pay.
Yep. Hey, that's why it's the quote that you can have it either good and fast, good and cheap, or fast and good, or was it good fast? Well, the point being, right, the AI was to a point now where it meets all the standards without have to pay the monetary cost, man. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason, the main ploy of China was that they had fast and cheap work.
Yeah.
So now they don't have that right now, right? And that's why Trump is trying to establish this AI infrastructure because it'll give them access to, right, fast, cheap, and quality work, man.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was looking at something earlier dealing with China, because what these tariffs, they fired over at China and they had this back and forth. So now they're talking about the tariffs went up to like 123%. That's killing these people that get their product from over there and vice versa, because like the people at work was talking about this day. I think like what's the Sheen or one of them
Yeah, like Timo
clothing.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, at one point that was the go to for these people to get their products from. Now they're talking about since the tariffs happened, you're getting hit with like a $25 shipping fee on top of everything else you're paying for the product. So that's putting a dent in what these people were doing, as far as getting the shit over there. Because we know with these retailers, they'll buy a haul of stuff, get it over here, resell it, and that's how they make their money. So now it's going to be hard for them to make profits because that's affecting them now, man.
Exactly. And that profit margins will slim as is, man.
Right.
Yep. That's why the scriptures speak about in the 2 Ezra 16th chapter is the beginning of sorrows. Because we were already in a position where Jake was struggling. Brothers been talking about this for years. The cost of living crisis, right? The inability for you to, make a good wage, to sustain yourself. Now you throw these things into the picture and there's no aid coming. This ain't going to look well at the end of the day.
Yeah. Hey, Ezekiel, what's that? The 7, I want to say 7 and 15. To behold, evil and more evils are to come.
Yep.
This is only the beginning.
Yep. Ezekiel 7 and 5.
Yeah, you read it real quick.
Count, I got you. It's Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 5. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai power, and evil and only evil, behold, is come."
Mm-hmm.
And evil is.
Sorry, go ahead.
And evil is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come.
And this is what we're talking about. This is why when Trump addressed us, years ago, he called us the prophets of doom, because what we're doing is prophesying exactly what we're seeing happening. The apostles and elders been talking about this for going over 30, 40 years now, man, of exactly how this was going to go and what's happening. We're seeing exactly playing out like the Lord wrote about, man. So really, you believers out there, man, you should be rejoicing because we're literally witnessing the fall of our enemy. Now, that scripture has been in my mind for like the past week and a half now, because when we read that, we think about it in the incense, but we're literally witnessing the fall of our enemy taking place right now. Because who's the main ones that's crying is Esau. This is the beginning stages of that, because they're literally witnessing their precious kingdom being took from them as we speak. And it's only going to get worse and worse and worse for them, man. So we're literally witnessing the fall of our enemy before our eyes, man. It's a blessed thing. This is what we've been waiting on, man.
That's it. May I jump into this a little bit more?
Go ahead.
I'm going to jump to verse 25, Ezekiel 7 and 25. It says, "Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none." Right? And that's what we see that's taking place. Like you said, Priest, we're seeing the fall of our enemy, right? They're doing rallies. You had the hands-off protests all across the world, primarily in America, different states, where they were pretty much flooded with Edomites that were saying, "Look, we don't want you to, destroy our kingdom, But
Right.
hey, at the end of the day, you're seeking after peace, but that's not going to happen. This is what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai has prescribed an end for this place." Verse 26, "Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priests and counsel from the ancients." Right. So, these people, they're going to seek to war, their priests, their loved pastors and whatnot. They ain't going to give you nothing.
Nope.
They're going to tell you some bullshit. And then you're going to look around like, wow, that ain't what's happening. Nigga told me I was going to be okay.
Right.
Like, nah, that's not the case. Matter of fact, I'm going to keep reading down. Verse 27, "The king shall mourn, and the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of people of the land shall be troubled. I will do unto them according after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them, and they shall know that I am Yahweh." So when you consider the deserts, that these people have carried themselves in, right, offending Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, right, carrying themselves after the idols, witchcraft, sorcery,
Mhm.
right? The Lord is pretty much giving like, all right, cool. You want this? That's why me and the elder the elder ICR did the lesson, and I made the point about Liberation Day. When I saw that Liberation Day, I saw that as the Lord saying, "Look, I'm going to liberate you niggas from. It's about to just be hands off. Like
Bad,
I'm gonna give
bad,
y'all over to that.
Yep.
You know, I'm gonna liberate you niggas. You want this?
bad.
Go ahead. I'm gonna show you just how hard life can really be."
Fine. Hey, let's get that, because like everything that's happening right now is what you people wanted.
Yep.
You cried. You literally cried for Trump. When the Lord said, "Here we go." Continue on. That's right. What we talk about. This is Isaiah 19:3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. And this is exactly what Yahweh Shem Yahushua gave y'all people, man. All
Yep.
right. He told you, look, don't vote. You Jakes out here, hey, your king is Yahweh. Okay. If you want true freedom and liberation, you got to go to him. But Jake said, nah, man, we want Trump. Northern Kingdom, we want Trump. Trump, hey, Mexicans for Trump, Dominicans for
Going
Trump.
at Trump.
Crazy.
Hey, now look, you see videos like the one I sent y'all. You had the old nigga in the chair talking about some. I voted for my job to get took. I won't make that mistake again.
Yo.
You're saying they fucked up, but like you said, Liberation Day, look, the Lord said, "Yo, this is what you wanted. Here, you, hey, my hands off now, man." And it's beautiful because what that Liberation Day it symbolized. That's going to be a day in the history books to where, like the elder said, America put the gun to his head, man. All right, as they're isolating themselves from the rest of the world, that's a suicide to the country, man. Because this country cannot sustain itself just off their own merit, man. This place, it thrives off of the businesses of the other countries because America is an export first country, man. I mean, import. It's like it. They don't make anything of value to ship out. They bring everything here, man. You know,
right?
So
Hey,
if you're
entertainment.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, entertainment is America's only export, right?
Exactly.
And that's why the scriptures talk about the daughters of music, right? Shall fall, man. Right? Is everything that was of value here is no longer of value, right? Right? Everyone looks at this place as a laughing stock. So there's no reason to be here once the excess is over, right? Because that's all America could thrive on was the excess, their access to everything. But like you said, with them cutting everybody off, even speaking on them getting cut off, you see the tensions between NATO and the EU, right? Turning on the whore, you know.
Right.
So now they're really getting cut off from the world, and their only ally is gonna be those small hats down there, man.
Hey, and the people see it. This is funny. Elder brought this out. The people they see what's happening. They are terrified. All right. This is from CNBC. 73% of Americans are financially stressed. It says Americans are feeling the squeeze of the market downturn and higher prices. CNBC senior personal finance correspondent Sharon Epperson, at the results of a CNBC Survey Monkey online poll measuring how people are feeling about their financial situations.
So, may I make a quick point?
Go ahead.
This is encouragement and admonishment for not falling out the truth, man, and not going back into the fucking world. Look at what these people are going through, man. No matter what it is that you may be going through on your journey and this pilgrimage to the kingdom, just keep fighting. Just keep fighting, man. Don't waver. Pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua to not take the Holy Spirit from you, and that you can continue to walk on this walk of faith. Because what the people are going through in this world is a direct correlation of them disobeying Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
That's right. That's right.
We don't want to be in that bunch of people that are financially stressed. Yes, we may be going through financial hardships. We're there as well. But we have Yahweh Bashem Yahushai on our side.
Yeah, because to add to you, because I want to get this precept before I make the point. This is St. John 14:27. It says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." Because, like you said, this is an admonishment to stay in the truth. Because look, the Lord says He's gonna take care of His servants, man. We always quote, Sirach 2:10. In Psalms talks about how King David, he said, "I have been young and now old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken." Isaiah 65 tells you how His servants are going to eat and drink. Job, the 5th chapter, all these multiple scriptures. Isaiah 40, was it 44 and 14? I want to say, or 14, where he said He's going to be with us. Worry not, fear not that worm, Jacob. The Lord gave us peace to where we know we're going to be okay. All right. The Lord's going to make sure we have our daily bread, so us and our families able to, stay afloat. Okay. He knows what we need, man. So this is what we've been waiting on, man. So we have to go through these things. So in the midst of us going through it, yeah, we're going to face the financial hardship. Yeah, brothers are going to be put in certain situations that look grim. But at the end of the day, we're good. And we have these scriptures to bring us comfort because we know exactly why these things are happening.
That's it.
Well, I'll play a little bit of this real quick.
Working at CM.
So I can do the ad pass. Because at the end of the day, man, as it says, man, 73% of Americans are financially stressed because you people live and die by your money. You people don't understand truly. First of all, if you understood how money really works, you know that this shit is worthless. Number one. And then two, like I said, we have the mindset of, hey, we get in and get out the matrix, man. We have our daily lives, we do what we do throughout, work, home life or whatnot. But this isn't the end all be all for us. This is why we truly, have that peace within our spirit, man. But for you people that don't have Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, this is why you are in that spirit of, languishing and that fear.
Of Americans fear the U.S. is heading towards a recession, according to a new CNBC survey. In fact, one economist says it will be self-inflicted, with the possibility of inflation rising and jobs being cut. CNBC senior personal finance correspondent Sharon Epperson joins us now. Sharon, what else are we learning about just how people are feeling about their own personal financial situations right now?
Morgan, we've talked about this. I think we feel this way. So do a lot of Americans. They are financially stressed. Our survey found actually 2/3 of people say that they're financially stressed, almost 73%, and 38% say they are very stressed. There are a number of factors that are really contributing to this, and I think people overall just want to figure out how they can make their money work for them, but there's so many things that are out of their control.
When you talk about those different stress factors, Sharon, I mean, is it just tariffs or is there something else at play here?
Well, inflation and interest rates for years have been something that have caused people financial stress. But now you add to that tariffs, you add to that layoffs, and all of those factors together are really stressing people out. In fact, tariffs, 2/3 of people say it's tariffs that are causing them to be financially stressed, and more than half are saying it's layoffs. So those are a couple of the more recent changes that we've seen that are causing people to feel stressed. Also, the number of people that are opposing the president's tariff policy is close to 60%, and 72% are concerned about what the tariff policies will mean for their personal finances.
You got it.
The tariffs, we haven't even seen the full extent of what the tariffs are going to cause right now, man. Right? So, these
niggas is stressing, and we ain't here yet.
Right.
Like, that was so crazy. I'm like, it's saying so many people are in a state of despair and stress over the tariffs. The tariffs just got put in place, right? They haven't even had time to really do any damage yet, man. This is just people afraid of what's to come, because they were already in bad case before this, man. They just want to blame the tariffs on their poor money management, right? And the situation, people living above their means and things of that nature, man. right? We live in a society where people are already check to check. The tariffs weren't making you check to check, you know.
God,
Yeah,
may I get a quick precept?
you got it.
This is Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 10, reading in the Message Bible, MSG. It says, "If you fall to pieces in a crisis, there wasn't much to you in the first place."
Ooh, oh my
These
goodness,
people,
you gotta
it
kill
ain't
me.
nothing to these people. Like, what is their strength? What is their source of power? What gives them the spirit to move forward with confidence? They don't have anything like that. Not as we do of the circumcision, as believers in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right?
That's it.
These people are in the beginning stages of a tariff that just went into motion earlier this week. And niggas is like, oh, I'm financially stressed. It's the tariffs. Nigga, we ain't even see the totality of how this is gonna impact your lives.
Exactly.
You just getting shook off of news articles.
Right. Hey, that's why the scriptures talk about all hands being weak and knees being weak as water, right? You know, this right here, right? The anxiety, right? We went into this on Wednesday, right? The anxiety that this world, right, puts people under, right? This is all them thinking about, you know, what could be, right? Because they don't have that faith, right? They don't have that eyesight, that sight of that wider way, man.
I got two precepts off of what y'all saying. Y'all said some heavy points. So first, I want to get this in Proverbs 29 and 18. It says, "For where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." And like I said, the people are panicking before they haven't even seen what the Lord is bringing yet, man. All right, because the prices haven't really, fluctuated, much of nothing yet. All right, everything is still copacetic, so to say. So when they actually start seeing these things actually hit, if it's saying 73% already is doing that now, just imagine when it finally hits, bro. And these people gonna bug out. But at the end of the day, this is why, like, going back to what I'm saying earlier, it's a blessing for us, that have this knowledge, because we have vision for down the road. Because at the end of the day, we understand that these things must happen. So as the crunch gets tighter, hey, we understand things gonna have to get cut. This is why, through the Spirit, brothers, the situations is forcing us to be in a more minimalistic, lifestyle, which is why, the Lord has been harping on, brothers changing their diet up, brothers exercising, some brothers might have to downsize or whatnot, whatever the case may be, but that's just to separate you more from this world, man, because like you said, that anxiety of what if, that's actually worse. That's worse than you actually feeling the when that shit actually hits, because it's the anticipation. And I got that. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 12. It says, "For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the succors which reason offereth." Now that word succors is help. So it says the fear is nothing else but the betraying of the help which reason offereth. This is why having this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is a blessing, because when those the anxiety demon hops, we face that too. We wonder how the Lord is going to get us through these situations, but we have that comfort in knowing, like we read earlier in John. All right, the peace that the Lord it gives us is not, it goes beyond what the world can do for us. This is why we're at peace with everything. All right, and when we're going through our hardship, we just sit tight, because we know at some point the Lord's going to bring us out of it. All right, but verse 13 says, "And the expectation from within being less, counteth the ignorance more than the cause which bring up the torment." So the fact that you bugging out before shit even hits the fan, how much more when the shit actually hits? Because what we're seeing, it's going to get bad out here, man. Well, and bad is a complete understatement. Okay, and so, like, Tazwan, matter of fact, could you read that verse you read again earlier? Because that was heavy.
Con, what was that precept you just read? Salakia.
Wisdom of Solomon 17 and 12 and 13. I want to say. Make sure I close the scriptures. Wisdom of Solomon 17, 12 and 13.
Count the water.
Mhm.
Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 10 in the Message Bible, MSG, it says, if you fall to pieces in a crisis, there wasn't much to you in the first place.
Right. So if you're letting anxiety fuck you up already, just imagine what you're gonna do when this shit actually hits, bro. When it finally hits, bro. These people gonna lose it. And like I said, this is all part of the plan. This is why, look, we're happy. We've been waiting for this, man. We want this to continue on because on both sides of the spectrum of what Trump is doing is exactly what we need. We need this economy to continue to get bad to the point to where it crashes so that they have a reason to reset this thing, man. Because we know once they bring that reset, it's nothing but MOTB talk after that, man. Okay, like you said, the UBI, the universal income, the beginning of pushing that chip, man. So we all know that this is all part of the plan, and not to get too off track, because we pretty much said what we said from this. The other side of the spectrum, what I want to talk about with this is the talks of what Trump is saying about going to war with Iran. Okay, because that's another big thing that's prophecy, because we already know if America bombs Iran, you already know who's coming in to back up Iran, which is Russia, which is going to bring in that World War III via Ezekiel 38th chapter. But we understand that World War III cannot happen until the mark of the beast is implemented. So you got to know how to pay attention to the whole picture. Okay. Yeah, when we report on the World War III aspect of it, cannot neglect the economic side of it first. Okay, that's a thing that Apostle's been pushing for the longest. So every time we see some shit happen where it's geopolitical, war stance, brothers, always remember the chip has to come first, man. All right. So I wanted to read this real quick. This is from the most important news.com. It says 8 signs that the bombing of Iran could be coming very soon. All right. And I'm going to just skim through it. All right. So number 1, a second U.S. aircraft carrier has been moved within striking distance of Iran. Okay. It says 2, it is being reported that 6 B-2 bombers have been deployed to the base on Diego Garcia. This represents 30% of our entire fleet of B-2 bombers. Number 3, the B-2 bombers that have been deployed to Diego Garcia are being left out in the open so that the Iranians can see them. And this is Esau, pumping his chest out, man.
Yeah.
Like it's all about the provocation, because he wants Iran to fight back, man. Verse 4. Number 4, negotiations with Iran are scheduled to begin this weekend. The New York Times is reporting that the Iranians are expected to reject President Trump's demands. Verse 5. Keep saying verse. Number 5. President Trump is warning that if negotiations with the Iranians do not succeed, it will be a very sad, very bad day for Iran. And this is like what they was talking about. The meeting that they're having with Iran is pointless, because all they're going to talk about is, look, if you don't do what we're going to say, then we're going to bomb y'all. So that's why Iran is like, it's not even no point of us even talking to you, because all you're going to do is threaten us, So it's all, futile at the end of the day. Go ahead, Doc.
Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Verse 10 to point. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So this is the mantra and mindset that these nations have toward the horde, right? Mm-hmm. They're not really fearful. They're not shaking in their boots. They have different coalitions amongst themselves to where they're prepared to go toe to toe.
Yep. So hey, the Lord is mustering the host of battle. He's stirring up that spirit of war in the earth, man, and it's really all, aimed at Israel and America.
Yep.
All right. So point 6: Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is openly telling us that a military strike on Iran has almost become inevitable, and this is hearing Trump speak about the whole bombing of Iran thing, like I said earlier, this has no benefit for America because that's not America's really a fight like that. That's Israel. So the fact that Trump is pushing this notion just lets you know that he's in Israel's best interest. That's why I said at the beginning of the lesson, Trump is really the first Jewish president. And then he got his man Elon Musk, another small hat right there in his cabinet that's in his ear as well, man. You know? So all these things are just showing you that the Lord is making moves, man.
Right. Because in reality, now the Jews shouldn't have a say in any of this, man.
Hell no.
Right? But because America is acting on their behalf, he can say things like this is something that's inevitable. Because ultimately, he's the one pulling the strings, man. Or whoever controls him is pulling the strings.
Yeah. Not a Jew is just a pawn at the end of the day. He's a figurehead. You know, there's forces that's deeper than him that's actually doing that. But, you know, they got to play the scene good.
Yep.
It says now that Trump is in the White House, the Israelis believe that now is the opportune moment to deal with Iran because they know Trump's going to do whatever they tell him to do.
Yeah.
And then lastly, it says it is just an unverified rumor at this stage, but an Iraqi journalist named Basim, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that shit, is alleging that the United States, the United Kingdom, and Israel have decided to begin a bombing campaign within the next 7 days. So, and all this is just showing that, look, the Lord is heating things up. But like we said, don't get all the way lost in this because we know that chip has to be pushed first, man.
Right. That's it.
You know? But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Unless you had something else.
That was it.
So, hey, Lord willing, man, this news and prophecy was edifying. We're going to close the lesson out. You know, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. A peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.